Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set. Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I am your host, Mual. In here with the man, Dre, the good man, Dre. AJ's on the way. Let's get the administrative items out of the way right quick. What's going on, Hawk? What up, Trapper? I see you. Appreciate everybody who's tapping in live. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Definitely appreciate y'all if y'all do that. Audio side, make sure you hit that follow button if you're new. You're sticking around, man. We appreciate that. Obviously, rating and review helps us out as well. Film session on the offense is up there. It's out there already. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and take a look at that. Good little content, good little 20-some minutes. You know, you may want to sit down with a little meal, like pregame for the actual game tonight or something like that, or maybe get you a little breakfast in the morning, a little oatmeal, little eggs and bacon on toast.
Mual, they can also tell your picks on Underdog Fantasy. That's what they can do too.
And they can tell the picks on Underdog Fantasy. You know, let me know how you're feeling about the picks, man. Depending on what state you're in, of course, but obviously had you some fun on Underdog Fantasy as well, which is the sponsor of the Trap or Die Podcast. The defensive side of the film session is coming out tomorrow. So we'll have that out tomorrow morning. And Dre, what up, player? How you feeling, dog?
Hey, Thursday night football, you know, but that means we officially in week 3. So I'm feeling great because I'm gonna win some parlays tonight, Mo. I'm calling it. I'm putting it in the air right now. I'm winning one parlay at least.
That's what I'm talking about, bruh. Now I do got one straight bet in that I was like I feel really good about. Again, I don't want to jinx it, so I won't say it. Good luck to you. But I do got one straight bet in. I got a couple parlays as well. I would consider, I ain't gonna lie to you, I'll probably consider them some long shots because I put a little low dollar amount on them Jones. Oh, yeah. My big play is the actual straight play. So I'm about to rock out with that. Hopefully I hit the lotto with it. Like I did with the home run, Jones. I hit a home run parlay today, bro. I was like,
oh, for real?
Yeah, I tailed it though. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I don't really be.
Don't matter. You won.
Yeah, I want to say I won. I ain't never hit one of them Jones. I got close probably one time, but I finally hit one. Just under 200. So nothing big, but it's enough for me to play with. For NFL and college football. That's all I need. Give me that money so I can actually hit big. You hear me?
That weekend money, baby.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, man. What's going on, Kevin? All right, let's get into the show. Today we have Jake Liscow. I hope I said his last name right. I'm gonna go. Yeah, y'all know how we doing this show. So we're gonna go ahead and check in with Jake. And hopefully I may just say Jake L or something. I'm gonna find a way to get around that, or I may just have to ask him if I said his name right. But anyway, he covers the Bengals for LockedonBengals podcast. So he's gonna come in a little bit and check in with the fellas and talk all things Cincinnati. So I can't wait to hear about that. We got some things on the defense and offense side that are quite essential for Washington to pay attention to, especially with T. Higgins coming back. And that man Trederick Hendrickson.
Right, Jr.
Yeah, a little bit more
better than Ryan, but he looked like him.
Well, but yeah, he is, man. He don't his whole fit so weird because he don't have no swag. He just straight dog, bro. He got the no gloves, no arm sleeves, no nothing, bro. Bare hands,
yeah,
bro. Just going after it, bro. What's going on, Jay Tizzy? All right, so let's go ahead and start with the injury report because something came out recently. Recently, as in within the last hour or two. There's Hogshaven doesn't have one up yet, So I'll just go to the Commanders' Twitter. Benjamin St. Juste is on the injury report for Thursday. And
limited or full practice?
He was in no, that's Brandon Coleman. He was limited with a groin injury. Cleveland Farrell, Emmanuel Forbes. So they didn't put Emmanuel Forbes on IR, but we know he had surgery, so I should not say him. But Cleveland Farrell, Johnny Newton were both DNPs. Johnny Newton was for rest for his foot. So, and I think Quinn actually even spoke about that in his presser today, saying that's still part of his plan. They're playing with him. Dorrance Armstrong, Zach Ertz is on the injury report. Zach Ertz he's on a rest day, so nothing there with him. Quan Martin hamstring, Brandon Coleman ankle. Now those two are different. Now Brandon Coleman was full participant in practice, but Brandon Coleman popping up on the injury report after dealing with a shoulder surgery. I'm like, okay, full participation, so I'm not panicking, but I'm like, all right, you on the injury report.
Hey, I'm more worried about that secondary. I mean, you got Quan and Ben St. Juste on there. I don't like that. I mean, the secondary already bad enough. We don't need to be, decimated out there.
Yeah. So we'll see with Ben. I think they said so. The way the schedule is this week is a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday practice.
Right.
So we will know a little bit further about Ben tomorrow and Saturday. We'll have a little bit more solidarity in terms of like what his situation is looking like. What's going on, Mossy? Appreciate you checking in, big dog. Okay, so we got that out of the way. What are our thoughts? Our initial thoughts about this game? They're right now 8-point favorite. Excuse me, Cincinnati is right now 8-point favorites. They were 7.5 earlier today. I'm about to double check and confirm that they are 8-point favorites, but I thought I saw 8. Let's see, 7.5-point favorites. And for us in my kind of ordeal with Washington, bro, this is. Look, you're coming into a hostile environment against a team who really should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week. They blew it with a terrible 4th down penalty that extended the drive for Kansas City, ultimately getting them in field goal range. You battled hard all day. Your defense hung in there, took advantage of Pat Mahomes making some boneheaded decisions, not all boneheaded decisions. Just a true battle of top tier teams going at it. And they lost. Now they're 0-2. Washington is a team that's honestly doesn't have an identity defensively. They're still trying to find their way offensively. But offensively, they're trending up more so comparatively speaking to their defense, who I wouldn't say that they're trending down. They were already down to begin with. Like they were supposed to be going up. They still they still stagnant. Where are you at? Everybody in the chat, where are y'all at? About this matchup or going into Monday night's matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, out of the 3 games so far, this is the one I'm most worried about going into it because we are facing a desperate Bengals team. Like, I mean, as you mentioned, they should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They also should have beat the New England Patriots week 1 as well. I mean, they let that one slip out. They had a couple stupid plays in that game that just absolutely cost them. So this game, for me, I'm looking at the coaching staff because we know the Bengals are going to come out desperate. How prepared are you going to have these guys to play out there? Like, this is going to be like the real first, test for me because this was something, I mean, not just only prime time, but this is something we've had an issue with in years. We're watching them when the lights are bright. Sometimes we didn't always see the coaches had these guys prepared to play. So now we're not expected to win. We're 8-point underdogs in this game, but are you going to come out and give the Bengals a fight? That's what I want to see. Like, I'm honestly not expecting us to go out there and beat them in Cincinnati on Monday. And that's fine if they don't. But I do want to see them put up a good fight in this game. And then if you walk away and you win this game, then we talking about a whole different conversation we're starting to have about this team, right? So that's what I'm looking for, the fight, the competitiveness. I'm looking for the preparedness if the coaching staff is going to have them ready to match the Bengals' intensity, because the Bengals are going to be intense in this game. There's not going to be any overlooking Washington or anything, because they're desperate. They need this win badly, because the Bengals are not a rebuilding team. The Bengals are a team that's expected to compete and contend with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills and all those teams in the AFC. And you're 0-2 right now, and it's a tough conference. So they are going to come out and bring it. So my biggest thing, again, in this game is just wondering, can Washington at least match their intensity, because they are going to be desperate.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Oh, my bad. What up, AJ? Sorry, I didn't plug you in like you wasn't even like you was here the whole time. What up, player? How you feeling, bro?
I'm all right, man. Just a little tired, but it is what it is. But just to jump into the conversation, like I said, to start off this year, I've always felt like this team will be in every single game and be competitive, even in the score differential between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game that they debuted in. I still didn't feel like they gave up. They were still playing hard, and I expect them to be competitive. I expect them to still provide effort offensively and defensively against Cincinnati. Like I said, when I looked at the overall schedule of teams that they're facing, the only team I feel at that time on paper was the Baltimore Ravens. But as we see, the Ravens have a lot of issues with their offensive line. So you still have a hope that will be an even more competitive game. I expect Monday night to be a competitive game. I think that a lot of people are just going by the fact that the Bengals have, an elite quarterback that we know of in Joe Burrow, and also elite wide receiver in Jamar Chase, and another guy that might be returning, T. Higgins, on the other side, who I feel like is elite in a lot of aspects. Wish he was actually on Washington's team, but that's not the case. I think that's where people are just conceding in the fact that they're going to lose because of how they've shown themselves in the pass coverage. But you just never know how bad this offensive line of the Bengals is. But I still expect them to be in the fight, and I expect it to be a good game. I think it's really going to be the battle between Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. When you look at it, like, who's going to make more plays for their team?
So I think part of our conversation, as we even think about making plays, right, the offensive side of the football, there's been a conversation about Terry McLaurin for the past couple of days. Overall, he's been a conversation the whole season, the first 2 weeks, given that the actual total amount of production. I was getting into, I ain't gonna lie to you, the dude annoyed me. Because I was just being myself. I was on my way to work, bro. I get up at 4:00 in the morning. I'm on the subway at 6 a.m. So like I'm like, I got time when I'm waiting for a train to get through. And like I'm looking up Terry's stats because I'm listening to a podcast. And I'm like, what is this, like, where is he at in terms of the team thing? And the dude is averaging 4.9 yards of reception. So I'm like, bro out here with he averaging yards per carry numbers as a receiver. And like, dude went straight into cliff offense, some shit, what you expect with the routes that he running and all these things. And I'm like, well, damn, bro, like, just cause you don't have to find reasons to blame. It's not a blame game here. It's just what his numbers are. Like, we don't have to, like, the question, even at that point when I was taking, like, it is a question that exists there, right? But that wasn't the moment for the question. And I think a moment for the question is right now on this show. What
I thought you was gonna be more annoyed that someone pinpointed that you tweeted it at 6 a.m.
6 o'clock. That's what I thought.
I mean, so like
that's why I thought you was getting to that you was annoyed by. I was like,
nah, I mean,
I was like, that person looking at the timestamp is kind of a little bit zesty for me.
Yeah, nah, that is. I mean, that's one thing, bro. But like, I'm used to it because I'm up at 4 o'clock every day. So like,
Yeah,
somebody
we
saying,
know.
I'm like,
I be
I know
waking up in
you
the
be
morning.
yeah,
I be
mom text.
waking
That's
up
a
in the
5
morning and
a.m.
checking the group text,
yeah.
and it's like this fool writing us at 3 in the morning.
Yep,
Like,
mom
I'm like, nigga,
be the
I'm
first
like, go
person
to
to text.
sleep, bro. Go
so
to
when I
sleep.
so when people say that, like I'll become immune to it. I'm more so like, damn, like y'all don't wake up early, bro. Y'all don't have shit to do. So that's the thing. But
Hey,
to that point,
whatever worm there is in that
Mom
sand,
got it.
early
you
bird,
got
bro.
all them worms.
Yeah,
Early
You got
bird, brother.
1,000 worms.
Yeah, man.
nothing
I
for
got
us to eat when
1,000 of
we
them
get up there.
things,
Mom
dog.
got them all.
Yeah, man. Y'all got the whole itinerary of the show by the time y'all get up. You're like,
Yep.
oh, this what we doing today? All right. So what was I about to say? Oh, so the question that exists with Terry is not about his actual yards per reception, but it's really like how do you get him going moving forward? Jaden Daniels had a quote. Let me see if I can find it right quick because it was a good one. It's right here from Jaden Daniels had a quote in his presser today, right? On the emphasis of getting the ball to Terry McLaurin. Quote unquote, yeah, I mean, go out there and pick the spots. I mean, obviously we got to get Terry the ball, but at the end of the day, you got to spread the ball around. Defenses are going to key on Terry respectfully and respect to him because of what he's done in this league. But at the end of the day, man, when it's time and we have a one-on-one matchup, sometimes, I mean, Terry's out there, go let him win. But other than that, we're going to keep playing our game. We're going to keep moving forward and just go from there. The leading receivers on this team, fellas, is your two running backs, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, and then your tight ends up next. Austin Eckler leads the team with 99 reception yards. Right behind him is Zach Ertz. Oh, and I'm sorry, Noah Brown, who just came in last week, 3 catches, 56 yards. He's third on the team in receiving yards, and then right under him is Brian Robinson with 52. Terry McLaurin has 39. And he has 4.9 yards of reception, which is the worst on the team. So that's everything that's outlined. Y'all got the floor. How do we get Terry involved more?
I mean, I think the thing with Terry McLaurin is one, a lot of people have this infatuation with him because of the character that he's exuded in his time since getting drafted by Washington, um, off the field, and some of the plays that he's made on the field as well. But when you truly look at it from a scope of just on the football field in comparison to other teams, number one or guys is getting paid like a Terry McLaurin, which is like 23-24 million a year, he's not within that class. That's why we went from the spring and the summertime having so many conversations about Brandon Ayuk. You feel me? Like, because Brandon Ayuk brings something completely different to the table that you have not seen from the wide receiver position. Almost, you could say, since
Hawk is
maybe,
hilarious, bro.
huh?
I said Hawk is
Oh,
hilarious.
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, he's just not bringing the different things that you want to the table, like say these other guys, or whatever, like the Brandon Ayuk's of the world, the Amon St. Brown, the Jaden Waddles, the Tyreek Hills, Jamar Chase, so on. So when you have a guy who specializes in 50-50 balls, but he's only 6 feet tall, it's like, what can you really do with that but so much? It's not like you got Mike Evans where he's 6'5", 6'6", and he's a 50-50 ball guy, or even a Drake London who's 6'4", 6'5". It makes it a bit harder. So you now have this guy that isn't elite in yards after the catch, isn't elite deep ball threat.
But he is good after the catch though. Like that's a
Like,
that's a
yeah,
that's a fact
I,
though.
I I'm saying like elite wise, like he's not mediocre, but he's not elite at yards after the catch, deep ball, getting off the line of scrimmage with his releases, running routes. He's not elite at those things, so it kind of puts him in a weird situation, especially when you refer it back to Kingsbury's time as even a head coach with the Cardinals. We've seen them go out their way to acquire DeAndre Hopkins when Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach. We've seen them go out their way to acquire Hollywood Brown. We also seen them bring a speedster who was having some issues back in the day with the Carolina Panthers at the time, Robbie Anderson, who now goes by Chosen Anderson. Like, he has a certain particular skill set that he likes for his guys. Either you're a deep threat or you're either an incredible route runner. And because Terry is not one of those guys, you're not really seeing him force fed in this offense like maybe how you would like uh them to do what the Giants did, where they moved Malik Neighbors, stacked him up, try to hide him in different things to get him on crossers, whatever the case is. That's obviously not how Cliff is trying to run his offense. So yeah, the numbers are not hitting where you wanted to be. Excuse me. The numbers aren't hitting where you wanted to be, but I think it's something to keep your eye out on. If it doesn't improve and that rapport, I wouldn't even say between Jaden and Terry, more so Terry and Cliff, the OC who's calling the plays. If it doesn't improve, I think you got to move on from Terry before the trade deadline and get something in return for him, because it makes no sense to have a guy making 23 million who has 1 year remaining on his contract, and he obviously isn't fitting within what you guys are doing offensively at the moment. Why hold on to him? That's an asset that maybe another team could definitely want. Not sure exactly what you would get for him in return. Maybe a third, second, but not a first. But some team maybe in the hunt or really in desperate need of another wide receiver to go alongside another guy would definitely probably like that. And that's where it makes sense. And that's why I've been so adamant on here. Like, go and get this Brandon Ayuk guy or whatever. But San Francisco also wanted Terry in return just to have that backup. And yeah, it is what it is. But I'm not really sure what's going to be the outcome of it. I just hope that things can pan out. But I still believe that the wide receiver position is something that will need to be addressed no matter what when it comes to next year, anyways.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I feel like we have this conversation about Terry every year, and the issue I have with the conversation is that a lot of people don't want to have a genuine conversation about it. You have a lot of people too sensitive when you're not saying Terry is a top 10 wide receiver or he's better than this guy or better than that guy. We can be honest here. We can be objective. To me, Terry is a high end number two. I think that's where you can classify him, which is fine. And but the problem is we just haven't had that elite number one guy. And I don't know what the plans is for Terry going forward. Whether AP and them see him as part of the future or whatever. But I mean, it could work if you get a number one across side of Terry. Terry probably will benefit a lot more from that. I mean, as far as the season has gone so far, I still think it's too early to write off Kirk. Write off Terry. I mean, because he's had struggles early on in seasons before, but this is a new
I
offensive
know you ain't thinking
coordinator.
about Kirk Cousins, bro.
No, I was thinking about Christian Kirk actually.
Oh, okay.
No, but
About
the
to
reason
say, nah.
reason why I was thinking about Christian Kirk, because when you was talking about his
Yeah,
money,
he used to be with the Cardinals as well. Yeah.
but not only that, Christian Kirk makes a lot of money in Jacksonville just to be a number 3 receiver. Pretty much, he's a number 3 receiver making $20 million a year.
Shit, he was number one, bro. Still is number one. Don't be playing my man Kirk, bro.
Hey, he on my fantasy team this year, and they not targeting him like that. So I'm having issues with Christian Kirk right now. But no, I mean,
shit.
Yeah, that's true too. I'm with you. But no, Terry, I do think it's still kind of early to say that he's not a fit for this offense or what he can't do in this offense, because we are a couple of deep looks from him away from kind of talking about him a little bit differently to start this season off. Jaden missed him in the first game. I think there was a shot in the second game he probably could have got. But I mean, I think that stuff is going to come. I mean, right now they're taking what the defense is giving them. I think Cliff is easing Jaden in. We haven't even seen the deep game get really going, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a big part of this offense. So we'll see if Terry can pick it up then. I mean, but Dan Quinn did mention, in the press conference, they have no kind of inkling to give him this or force feed him the ball, as fans are saying. And I don't think they should either. I mean, I don't think Terry's that guy. Terry's never been that guy, honestly. I think he's probably been that guy one time in his career here, and that was when Taylor Heineke was here. Like, Taylor Heineke had to fucking Terry down there somewhere mindset. But no one else has kind of had this thing as we have to force feed Terry, because, I mean, I'm not sure if it's a successful offense that you're going to have if you're just force feeding Terry. But Terry, again, he has value. I love him as a leader. I mean, I think that's the biggest trait that he has. Great leader. And that's why I'm kind of reluctant to kind of just walk away from Terry because of that leadership aspect from him. And he is a hell of a player. Like, he may not be great, he may not be elite, but Terry's a damn good football player. But again, I don't know what Adam Peters' plan is for him for the future. I'm not even sure what Terry will be worth money-wise going forward, given what his status is in the league at the wide receiver position. But at the same time, I'm not opposed to trading them if that's what they end up, ultimately want to do. I mean, this is a business, and if you can get something of value for them, I'm not sure what you can get for him, because whoever does trade for him is going to have to sign him to an extension right away too, unless you just want to give up a pick for free. But again, I mean, I think it's too early to kind of declare Terry lost in this offense, because we just haven't seen a lot with this offense yet. It's still more to kind of open up.
Yeah, I think the trade talks is definitely jumping the gun. I think it's more relevant to those defensive tackles. And we can talk about them after we get done talking with Jake. But I think I when it comes to Terry, it's something where I don't even think it's worth like entertaining the trade conversation. Comparatively speaking to other positions. But I think one thing I will say as we wait on, because I think Jake should be joining us shortly. One thing I will say, specifically when it comes to Terry, Dre did hit one of the points on the head. It's too much sensitivity surrounding him. I seen somebody when we were talking about blocking and how he was struggling as a blocker, which is something that's going to be pretty prominent in Cliff's offense to this point, as we've come to see. That person ends up essentially crying in the original tweeter's mentions, talking about, yo, he did all this for us over these past few years, and you got the nerve to speak bad on him. Like, Terry is a star. And I'm like, bruh, like, we talking about football. When did this person ever disrespect Terry? Like, he didn't disrespect Terry. He just said he ain't blocking good. Like, that's the truth. But outside of that, another point that I would like to mention, is this conversation is like, I think it's masked a little bit, right? Because and the reason why I say that is because, like, I don't think people understand like the difference in how a couple of targets or a couple of missed opportunities can really change the narrative. Dre, that was one of the things that I was going to mention. Like, even if they connected on like 20% of the missed opportunities, like not even 50, not even 100%, 20% of the missed opportunities that has occurred between with Terry on the field, it's a different narrative at this point. Like, he's having a pedestrian or above average statistical start to his season. And that's where I think about situations like this, because, like, mind you, I asked a question: how does he get more involved against the Cincinnati Bengals? And we're talking about Terry's fucking career. Like the question was about the Bengals and how do they do this? And you do move him around. Like, you move him around. You find ways to get him involved with, like, the same way that they try to get Noah Brown involved with motion. That's one of the reasons why he got open in the second half of that game. I mean, if you can work the screens, like, you see those soft coverages, have those screens ran to Terry. Terry can work a screen. He's a yak guy. He's powerful after the run. He breaks tackles. Like, you don't have to keep going to Diami. You don't have to go to Zacchaeus if you don't need to. You can get it to your best playmaker after the catch. One of your more explosive playmakers after the catch. You can find ways to get him on slants and those one-on-ones as a backside receiver. You can isolate him. Like, there's different ways that you can get Terry involved. And I'm not saying that he's not doing that. Cliff isn't. I'm more so saying have him be featured more as a person who can make plays for your team. And that's kind of the dynamic or the difference. I just think that Jaden's comments is eye-opening. While some can call them thoughtful, I think they are. I think it's more of a revelation in that he's more focused on just moving the football rather it is than focusing on one person. And I respect that as well.
And that's how the offense should be, Mo. I think, especially for a young quarterback, you don't want him going into this thing with kind of tunnel vision for Terry McLaurin. Yeah, because Terry's your best receiver, I got to have tunnel vision. No, as Jaden's responsibility right now is to see the whole field. And he has to, as Jaden said, he has to get the ball out pretty quickly. But again, as Jaden gets more time, as Jaden gets more experience, I do see Terry, those opportunities opening up for Terry. I do see those opportunities connecting more for Terry. And we hope it does start this week against the Bengals. I know the Bengals do have a really tough cornerback over there, Cam Taylor-Britt. But still, I mean, this is, Terry can still go out there and get his. Hopefully it does start this week.
Let's pause for a quick second. You got the floor, AJ. When we come back, let's go ahead and take our ad break and hear from our sponsor, Mr. Underdog Fantasy. All right, let's take a break from the show right quick. And let me tell you something about Underdog Fantasy. It is the greatest time of the year. Again, football is back and it's here to stay till February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Went up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, such as touchdowns, passing yards, and more. Look, man, I love Underdog Fantasy. The sign-up process is smooth. They have a really slick mobile app, and it's the entertainment I've been looking for. I love me a good fantasy contest. I'm a competitive dude. Y'all know it. So sign me up 10 times out of 10. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code TRAPPERDIVE, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code TRAPPERDIVE to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. I got a question. Am I going to hit on Antonio Gibson over 34.5 rushing and receiving yards combined? I'm gonna get that right.
I got him at 25.
I'm gonna get it. What has he done in the first 2 games of the season?
Yeah, that don't matter, AJ. You don't even need.
Didn't he have a good game last week?
I'm watching Patriots football, bro.
No, Antonio Gibson led the league in yards last week for after contact, I believe.
Oh, after contact.
Yeah, yards.
So I looked it up earlier. I was half occupied between my actual job and doing this. But I do remember he had an increase in something. I just don't remember exactly what it was. That was like, all right, I think there's an opportunity here because Ramondre is going up against a team who the Jets ain't doing really good against running backs, period. Like receiving running backs and actual running backs who can tote the rock. So I was like, there has to be an opportunity here for Antonio, who they brought in to be number 2. But he only has 1 catch on the season. So that's probably the thing that I don't think we factoring into. But I took a little shot. I think you're gonna hit the number, bro. He's gonna hit the number.
Look, I took it at 25.
I mean, it's already locked in. It's already locked in, brother. Yeah, it's already locked in. Okay. All right, so I got some support in the chat. Yeah, we're gonna hit the over show. All right. AJ, what you about to say about Terry, and we can move on to the defense? If you still have something to say.
I'm gonna just leave it alone. Cool.
Okay. All right. So how do we stop these guys, man? I think Jamar Chase has speaking of pedestrians, he has a pretty pedestrian stat line the first 2 games of the season. And then obviously your boy T. Higgins is coming back off of injury, but he's slated to come back this week against the Commanders on Monday night. So where are we at with this side of the football in these issues?
I mean, I think that there's turmoil within the Bengals franchise, especially one of their key players that makes that offense go, Jamar Chase. I mean, with missing most of the offseason program and the fact that he's playing on $1 million salary when every other guy who he competes with as far as at that position is getting paid, it's just like knowing that someone that does the same job as you is getting paid, I don't know, let's say $250,000 a year, and you come into work and you're getting paid $75,000, even though it doesn't, players are getting paid millions of dollars anyways, right? But like, it's just one of those things that's taking him off, and I think it's thrown off the chemistry between him and Burrow. And that's why his numbers are even low to begin the season, still trying to get into football shape. But just from a mindset standpoint, you can obviously tell Jamar's the type of guy where that thing is that fact is going to bother him the rest of the year until they go about taking care of it. If the Bengals decide to do that or not, don't know. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lingering thing. Then you also got a guy in T. Higgins who was franchise tagged at 21 million. So yeah, it's just a bunch of dysfunction, and I think you've seen that attributed to the play that the offense has been having with Cincinnati. But I think that all these guys trying to get back on the same page is not necessarily going to happen just in week 3 Monday Night Football against the Commanders. I know we got history where we always kind of make teams, get they juju back.
Yeah, the get right,
they
the get
always
right mob.
they always have, they get right moments. But I just think that you know, it really boils down to Bengals offensive line holding up against the pressure, because I believe that Joe Witt Jr., knowing what he knows about his defense and players not necessarily being of elite status of getting home to the quarterback, and maybe coverage not necessarily being the best. We don't know who's going to start opposite of Ben. Even Ben is on the injury report with a groin injury. I expect him to bring some heat, and if that heat can get home, it's gonna be a long day for the Bengals as well, and it's gonna disrupt their passing game.
Pause for a second. Dre, we're going to spin the block as soon as we complete our conversation with the good man Jake List. Hold on, wait. I told you what I was going to do when I bring him in. I ain't gonna mess this one up. I ain't good with names. I ain't good with names at all, Jake. Jake Liscow. Did I get it right?
You can't really guess anything else, but the W shouldn't be there. It's a silent W.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So I was right. It's like, no, I'm playing. Jake Liscow is joining us at Locked On Bengals podcast. Appreciate you joining us, boss man. How you feeling?
Feeling good, guys. Sorry for my tardiness, but I'm good.
Right on time.
Yeah, you're good. So I didn't even notice that you said Pacific Coast. So I didn't. Are you Seattle area?
I lived in Seattle for a year. I'm actually in Canada. I grew up in Cincinnati, but I moved to Canada about 9.5 years ago, 2015.
Okay.
So I've been up here for a while.
Yeah, that's not bad, man. Yeah, I was reading things Seattle. I had some family in Seattle. That's kind of where my first guest went to. So okay,
Nice.
all right.
Yeah, I was so intrigued. How did you become a Bengals fan?
I grew up in Cincinnati. So I lived there from 2 weeks old until 18, and then I graduated high school and I never went back. Really.
Okay, gotcha. Makes sense.
I mean, I've been back. I was
about to say, when I heard that convention and never went back, I was like, what happened in Cincinnati?
No, nothing like that. I just haven't lived there, as an adult. That's all.
Gotcha.
All right, so talk to us about Cincinnati, man. These Bengals 0-2, but we were saying to start our show, last week was a game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Last week was a game of two top-tier competitors vying for the AFC title game. AFC title going at it. And the Cincinnati Bengals lost the game. They had this, in my opinion, the way I was watching it. What do you think about like how everything has unfolded 2 weeks into the season? What exactly is going wrong? Obviously, the big upset in week 1 is the one that really sticks out. But what's been going wrong? And where do you think you all are on the right track? What's getting right for you all?
Well, it's different things in each game, right? Very different games. First game, typical Bengals can't start the year well. And it was a tackling issue more than anything. They couldn't tackle Ramondre Stevenson in that game. They had a number of plays where I've been worried about the interior defensive line for the Bengals, which is banged up and wasn't something that I thought was the strength of the team in the first place. And then they lost some guys to injury in the preseason, and they lost some guys in week 2 as well. So we'll probably talk about the interior defensive line for the rest of the week between now and Monday as well. But I thought they were just going to have issues in the middle, and they didn't really against the Patriots. They had defensive backs or linebackers in position to make tackles, and they just didn't. And Ramondre Stevenson had something like 120 out of 126 yards after contact in that game, which doesn't really make sense. Like, I can see your reactions. That's how it was watching the game too. Like, you had guys behind the line of scrimmage in position to make plays, and nobody makes a tackle. Nobody gets a hand on him in some cases. And so week 2, that gets cleaned up, I think, considerably. It's not perfect. They're still not a perfect tackling team, but it was way better against the Chiefs. And while the Chiefs were able to run the ball, Lou Anarumo, the approach this defense takes to play in Kansas City, because they've done it so many times over the years, and they have a lot of success against Pat Mahomes, is they dare the Chiefs to run it. And they did. And the Chiefs ran it more than they usually do. Usually they don't have the discipline to stick with it like that, but they did run it a little bit more. And when they were running it well in week 2, they also turned the ball over 3 times. And then they had to throw it, and Pat Mahomes still only went for 151 yards on pretty bad yards per attempt. One of his worst games I think he's had as a pro statistically. And I would say in terms of what he did on the field, it wasn't an impressive game. A lot of throws behind the line of scrimmage, not really challenging the Bengals much downfield outside of the one go ball to Rashee Rice. So very different story in week 1 versus week 2, where week 1 they couldn't tackle and Joe Burrow was way sped up. Week 2, Joe Burrow looks a lot better. Still a little bit sped up at times, I think. Still a little bit of a struggle in the play calling department, and I think that was worse in week 1, better in week 2, but not all the way where it needs to be, insofar as too often they're calling route concepts into the teeth of coverages and not getting, the cover 2 beater against cover 2, calling a cover 2 beater into cover 3, and then you're beat, right? So there's too much of that paper, rock, scissors game where they're throwing scissors and the defensive coordinator's throwing rock. And I have a lot of respect for Steve Spagnuolo's defense in Kansas City, so there's part of it. But I do think they need to get their players in a better position to succeed, have a better success rate of challenging the coverage rules that they're actually seeing on a down-to-down basis. They need to be more consistent running the football, I think, where they've been efficient, but not very consistent. Hasn't been a big part of the game plan. But we saw major progress from week 1 to week 2. And then in week 2 against the Chiefs, it's just, that team could run the table, right? Like everybody knows the Chiefs are a really good football team. They gave the Chiefs everything they could take, probably should have won the game, made a couple too many mistakes between Joe Burrow's fumble, a couple of drops in the fourth quarter, and the DPI penalty.
So, oh my God. I hated that. I had y'all on the money line. I ain't gonna lie to you.
they should have won the game, and that should have been a good bet. But, I wasn't feeling as confident as you were. So I'll give you that one.
Well, they lost me money on the money line on week 1. But Jake, I did want to ask you, what can you make of Jamar Chase's slow start to start the season so far? And do you think a possible return by T. Higgins on Monday may kind of get him jump started?
Yeah, I think it should help. I think that not practicing for the entirety of the preseason, even if you are as good as Jamar Chase is, has an impact on you on the football field. He didn't play his full complement of snaps in week 1. They've also, week 1, the strength of the Patriots defense, which apparently is better than anyone thought it would be with the emergence of Keon White in particular. But the strength of that defense is the secondary. They have a good secondary. Christian Gonzalez is really good. Jabril Peppers is good. They have good safeties. They have good corners across the board. That was part of it. Another part of it, as I also do a post-game show on the First Star Logistics YouTube channel with Joe Goodberry, and Joe does a lot of really good Bengals analysis as well. And he went and watched. He just posted a 33-minute film breakdown video for his Twitter subscribers, and it was just what the Chiefs did to Jamar Chase, and it was whatever the play call was on the Chiefs defense, double one the entire game. There was a significant effort to double Jamar Chase, so much that fourth down blitz where third down blitz, the last offensive possession for the Bengals where the corner comes off and it's a sack, an unblocked sack for the Chiefs to get off the field. That guy was showing a bracket on Chase. He blitzed. They rolled the safety from the middle of the field to still bracket Chase. So that they're showing a bracket on Chase, right? They blitz one of those corners and they roll the safety over there anyway to keep that double on Chase, because even though they're blitzing the guy that they're showing the bracket, and Joe Burrow never saw him because they're bracketing Chase the entire game. He's like, okay, they're doubling Chase again. I'm not going to look that way. They rolled a guy over there anyway. So there was a lot of attention paid to Jamar Chase. I think in both games, when you don't have T. Higgins on the field, there's not a whole lot the Bengals can do to punish you. They got a lot out of their tight ends in week 2. They went to 12 personnel, more than they ever have under Zach Taylor in week 2. They're getting a good contribution from those tight ends. Eric All is an exciting rookie that they feel like they can put a lot on his plate from a tight end perspective, not just a receiving tight end, not just a blocking tight end, but can do a little bit of both. And so getting T. Higgins back should be a significant improvement in that category, right? Because you have Jermaine Burton hopefully emerging with the one deep ball he had, showing that, hey, you can actually trust me, because he hasn't earned the trust up until this point. from Joe Burrow and this coaching staff to just get on the field more. But clearly, we think he can perform at a higher level than a guy like Trenton Irwin, who's playing a lot at wide receiver. So between the mix of getting more personnel diverse with multiple 12 personnel packages, multiple 11 personnel packages with the return of T. Higgins, Andre Yosevich as a red zone threat, and Jermaine Burton as a downfield threat, that should help open things up and punish defenses more if they choose to call 1-double-1 the entire game or whatever they're calling to try to get a bracket or double on Jamar Chase. They're probably just going to cloud that side of the field, I imagine, a lot this week in terms of a defensive approach. That's what a lot of teams do, especially when T's out there as well. So you're not dedicating, strictly to resources to Chase. You do still have that kind of over top defender in case something else comes into that part of the field. But a lot of attention paid to Jamar, I would say, through 2 weeks.
So I guess what I would ask when you're previewing this matchup and you see the statistics that Washington's offense, and in particular their two-headed monster in the sense of Brian Robertson Jr. and Austin Eckler, what they've been able to do in the run game and pass game, does that concern you any of Bengals having to slow down, especially when you bring up a guy's impact such as a Ramondre Stevenson week 1 of the Patriots, and also the Chiefs' focus in that week 2 matchup being the run game? Does that concern you, any of this being exploited Monday night?
For sure. I think that Washington should come out with a run-heavy game plan. And obviously, when you add a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who has the running ability that he has, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten to watching any Washington tape yet. Are they running like read option stuff? Are they running a good amount of option offense, or is it quarterback power? You get quarterback counter, anything like any of those Lamar Jackson concepts?
It's some option stuff, but not heavy on like the Lamar Jackson, like QB zones or the QB sweeps yet. We haven't seen that necessarily so far 2 weeks in, but they are using a lot of screens, halfback screens in particular. It could be a middle screen with the halfback, tight end screen, but running game wise, a lot of inside zone and counters. Not too many like stretch plays. They're really running in between the tackles with both guys. Austin Eckler not necessarily getting a bunch of rushing carries, but he is heavily utilized in the passing game to the point where he leads the team in receiving yards going into this Monday night matchup.
That is a little crazy considering Terry McLaurin exists. I actually really like De'Ami Brown coming out too, but hasn't quite been the pro player yet that I thought he might be.
Do you want him?
Do I want him? Trying to get rid of him?
He can open Jamar Chase up.
Just give me a 12-pack of Sprite.
They drafted Burton this year, so I don't need De'Ami Brown anymore because they're just both vertical receivers. And, one of them has anyway, don't have to go down that road. I would go back to your original question and say that, yes, I am worried about the running game for Washington. I think that the Bengals coaching staff is worried about the running game as well. They signed Lawrence Guy, who was playing for the Patriots last year, and the Patriots played the Commanders at the time. But they're thin on the defensive line. They're on defensive tackles trying to count. I think in my head, they're on 5, 6, and 7 right now. And 1 through 4 are hurt. So BJ Hill, Sheldon Rankins are 1 and 2. Those guys are hurt. Chris Jenkins, the rookie, second-round pick, Michigan, he's going to try to play with a club on his hand this week. He just got back to practice after he had a thumb surgery the Friday before the first regular season game. So the Friday before week 1. He's back at practice today for the first time on a limited capacity with a club on his hand. And then they got Zach Carter, who I thought was going to get cut, Jay Tufele, who I also thought was on the roster bubble. Their other rookie draft pick, the nose tackle body, they drafted McKinley Jackson on injured reserve right now. They hope they can get him back after week 4, but they got 4 defensive tackles hurt. And they had 2 guys by the end of that game against the Chiefs. They signed a guy this week, probably get a practice squad call up this week, or you might get a practice squad call up this week. You hope Chris Jenkins can be effective with the club, but you need your hands to play defensive line, right? It's going to diminish his effectiveness a little bit, I think. And so I would say that tackling is another key area for this team this week, this Bengals defense. And the defensive interior is worrisome. And I really like Connor Williams. And I don't know about the rest. You got a couple new pieces there I saw today on that interior offensive line for Washington. But that is a big weakness of this Bengals defense that I would be looking to attack is the interior defensive line, the interior offensive line mismatch should be a place where you can have some success. And I'm also looking at explosive plays quite a bit this week, going in both directions. I think that's going to be a big one as well. But talking specifically about the running game, I would say that is probably the first area of concern I would have from a preparation perspective if I were trying to prepare for this game and I were the Bengals.
How much of a difference does Hendrickson make? I mean, I know he's really good, but I'm saying
he's the only dude. That's all they got.
Okay. So you think it's going to be something where it's like if they want to put some extra eyes on him, a couple more hands on him, like they ain't got too much to worry about up front.
So who's starting at left tackle this week? Is Brandon Coleman starting if he's healthy?
You got a mix.
It's been a
Brandon
rotation.
Coleman, Cornelius Lucas.
They got a
They're
rotation. It's like you get light skinned Aunt Viv for first half, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and then second half you get dark skinned Aunt Viv.
Okay.
So that's some weird rotation that they got going on at left tackle.
A little bit of a different flavor
for the first two.
Cornelius Lucas and Brandon Coleman, those are the rotations.
No, I got that.
I forgot all about their actual names. My bad.
So if I were the Commanders, I wouldn't even play the rookie. Coleman's a rookie, right?
TC, yeah, he is a rookie. Yeah, third round.
I just wouldn't do it. Just let the veteran go out there and do his best, right? A guy that at least has seen some guys in this league, has played a little bit, because this 2 straight weeks that Trey Hendrickson's gotten young left tackles bench for the Patriots and for the Chiefs. Kingsley Suamataia did not make it through that game. He was pulled on the final drive for Wanya Morris, who went in for left tackle for the Chiefs. You got to put help over there. The Chiefs decided to leave Kingsley on an island with the only Bengals pass rusher that's going to hurt you. And Trey almost single-handedly won that game on defense. The reason the Chiefs didn't convert that 4th and 6 before the 4th and 16 is because Trey Hendrickson drew a penalty. The reason the Bengals got off the field a couple times is because Trey either got a sack or drew a penalty. So the one piece that you really got to worry about with the injuries the Bengals have, Sheldon Rankins, VJ Hill, Miles Murphy, all likely to be out, in addition to McKinley Jackson, and we'll see about Chris Jenkins. Like I said, they're so banged up front, but they still have this all-world, all-pro quality pass rusher in Trey Hendrickson. He's not as good of a run defender. He's a solid run defender, but he's not like Myles Garrett where he's really good at both. He's more of a pass rusher than a run defender, but he is right up there with the best of the best in the NFL as a pass rusher. The problem with that is they don't have the complementary piece. If you have a good left tackle and you can slow him down, you might shut down the entire pass rush. If you can just double team Trey and the rest of your guys can hold their own, and maybe Trey has a couple of hurries here or there, right? Maybe he has a sack. But if you can slow him down, that's taking a huge bullet out of the Bengals' defensive arsenal.
Well, any last questions, Dre, AJ, before we get Jake's prediction?
Yeah, I have one last question, and it's pertaining to Jamar Chase once again. Of course, we know how many wide receivers got paid this offseason. Even opposite him in the T. Higgins getting franchise tagged at $21.5 million, and with Jamar Chase having to play on this $1 million contract, which led to the holdout. Do you think that the Brown family, especially Mike Brown, will give in and possibly trade Jamar Chase, especially if the numbers that he's put up so far continue to trend in that direction before the trade deadline? Or will they be stubborn and hold on to him and be in, some type of a controversy of having 2 wide receivers that may no longer be, well, I can't say no longer because Jamar still has 2 years remain on this contract, but you got a T. Higgins who obviously could either get tagged or hit free agency. What do you think happens with Jamar Chase's situation before the trade deadline?
I think Jamar will eventually get an extension done with this team. It will probably be next offseason. There is a -% chance they trade, I'd say, either of those players, unless there are significant injuries and they're like 0-6 at the trade, 0-7, whenever the trade deadline is. I can't remember. But it would have to go really off the rails. Jamar Chase is still very likely to be part of this team in the future. I do think that it is a gaffe, to put that kindly. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your show. It was a bad
Swear away,
decision.
brother.
Go for it. Go for it.
A fuck up of colossal proportions to not get that done with Jamar in the preseason. And the reason, as we understand it, that it didn't get done is that they didn't put the guaranteed money at the part of the contract where Jamar's camp wanted it to be. So there was guaranteed money later in the deal. Jamar wanted that guarantee to kick in earlier in the deal. They got that close. They had the overall money in place, the years, the total amount of money, as we understand it, but they didn't figure out the guarantees. And so I think this is, you mentioned Mike Brown. I think this is actually his daughter and her daughter and his daughter's husband, the Blackburns, who were running the business for the most part at this point, Katie and Troy Blackburn, where I've been somewhat critical of the Blackburns for putting too much emphasis on winning negotiations rather than winning football games. And that's led to the departures of Jesse Bates, DJ Reader, and eventually there's a very small chance, I would say, that T. Higgins is franchise tag for a second straight year. And when you lose 3 players like that you drafted, that you developed, that are all at or near the top of their position, depending on who you ask and depending on the player, that's probably a bad thing. And so it has cost the football team, I think. I think that Jamar's frustration and that penalty that we saw from him in week 2, definitely whatever frustration he had from the Chiefs' game plan was amplified by the things surrounding him from a contract perspective. It's hard to deny that that is having some sort of distracting impact, but I do think that next year they do get the deal done just because they have most of it in place already, and they just need to get it across the finish line. But we'll see. I thought they would extend Jesse Bates. I thought that was a no-brainer. They would get that done. They tried. They failed. They tried to get it done with T. Higgins as well. They didn't get close. David Mulligetta represents both of those guys. They don't know how to negotiate contracts with David Mulligetta, apparently, because they can't do the guarantees that he's looking for. And so I don't have a great amount of optimism for T, but I do think that Jamar Chase will continue to be part of the team, because if they let Jamar walk, I mean, I just don't know what you're doing at that point. You're pissing off your quarterback. You're pissing off your fans. You are squandering a successful 5th overall draft pick. And the thing that makes it weird to me, and sorry if I'm rambling about this, is that prior to this year, not getting paid until after your 4th year, if you're a good first-round draft pick, getting paid before that 5th-year option was common. And then this year, a bunch of players from Jamar's draft class got their extensions before their 4th year. And so prior to this year, Justin Jefferson, the most recent example of this, right? Guys would play through that 4th year and then get paid before their 5th year. And then this year, all of a sudden, Devontae Smith and Penei Sewell and a bunch of other guys get paid before their 4th year. And the Bengals went to Jamar. And this is something that maybe Commanders fans don't know. Jamar said the Bengals approached him back in March.
They promised
and said,
we're
going to get this deal done. And then they didn't get it done. And so Jamar was pissed about it. And I think rightfully so.
Yeah, because I think, like you said, Devontae Smith is a part of that class. Brandon Ayuk, Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson was year before.
Okay, Jalen Waddle was definitely a part of that. Brandon Ayuk. So it's like you're watching all your peers cash out because in the NFL, the goal is to get to your second contract and beyond. And yet here you are as one of the elite guys at the position.
He's better than all those guys you named.
You're at this. You're here, and they don't want to take care of you, and it's kind of confusing. And I just think, Jamar has that personality where it's gonna rub off in the locker room and on game day, and that's what concerns me And I don't really understand how they're mismanaging this so poorly. Like, it makes no sense because the numbers are there. Everything is there for you to just get it done.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that question, but I appreciate your feedback on it.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's a good week from my perspective to get back on track for Jamar, to get him motivated again, to get him feeling good again, because to me, this is a Washington team that has the fourth worst defensive explosive play rate in the NFL, one of the worst teams in the NFL as far as containing explosive pass plays. So while they're explosive on offense, they've been one of the better teams in the NFL on offense in generating explosives. They've been one of the worst teams in defending explosives in the NFL through 2 weeks. Small sample size, I get that. But with T. Higgins hopefully returning and them needing to win, if you look at their last few years, not last year so much, they were struggling, but they managed to win against the Rams with Joe Burrow playing on a leg and a half. This is around the time that they kind of figure their shit out. And, they start 0-2, and then they kind of get right. And I heard you guys talking about it being the Commanders in the past being a get-right team. Monday Night Football, primetime at home, those have been good games for this team. I am looking at this game as an opportunity for them to rediscover their explosiveness on offense, but I do think they'll be challenged defensively. I do think that Washington's offense poses some problems potentially. While I like the Bengals secondary, that running game could make things hard depending on how the game script goes, depending on who's up early and how turnovers go early in the game.
Well, hit us with your score prediction.
I'm not a big predictor.
It's cool. We ain't gonna hold you to it like 100%, but if you had to say something,
If I had to say something, I like the Bengals. I don't know if I like the Bengals to cover. It's like 7.5.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the over-under was, but I like points in this game too. So depending on where that over-under is, I like points, and I like the Bengals to win just because I have a hard time seeing them getting to 0-3. I still think it's a good football team. The Kansas City Chiefs game gave me confidence that it's still a good football team. And a home primetime game is somewhere they've played really well in the past. The X factor here is injuries. Von Bell popping up on the injury report on Thursday with an injury we think he sustained in practice, a back injury, which could cause some communication issues, like I was talking about with those explosive plays on defense. And so it could be a shootout, but I have a hard time thinking that the Bengals go to 0-3 just because I still think they're a good team. And you go to 0-3, you're really – 0-2 is already hard enough to make the playoffs. 0-3 would be very big mountain to overcome.
Well, Jake, we appreciate you joining us and giving us the lay of the land for them Cincinnati Bengals. I think people listening right now, you're not going to be too far. I'm not too far off from your prediction or your semi prediction. But I want to give you the floor one more time, just to let people know where they can find you, hear from you, all that good stuff, man. The floor is yours. Appreciate you joining us. For
Commanders fans that for some reason want to keep up on the Cincinnati Bengals, you can find the Locked On Bengals podcast. I'm wearing the shirt right now.
Okay,
we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find me on Twitter if you want to talk shit, I guess. I guess that's the biggest appeal for y'all for why you would want to come seek me out on Twitter, at Jake Liscow, just like my name is spelled. And hope it's a good game. Hope we get out of here with minimal injuries. There's a little bit of PTSD from the last time the Bengals played the Commanders.
That's right.
Oh wait, we had the tie last time we played, right?
No, Joe Burrow.
They knocked Joe.
How did I forget that? How did I forget that? Oh my goodness, I definitely remember that goal line. Chase Young.
That was his rookie year.
Rookie year. John Allen, bear hugs, Michael Jordan, and just both of those dudes go into Joe Burrow's knee, and it was a bad time.
Well, Jake, man, appreciate you joining us once again. And have a safe weekend. Enjoy the games. You ain't got no stress to worry about on Sunday. You can kick your feet up, watch the games, watch some college football on Saturday, and get ready for Monday night, big dog. Be safe, bro. Appreciate you joining us.
Appreciate you guys. See ya.
Appreciate you. Yes, sir. All right, there is Jake Liscow of the Locked On Bengals. Did I get where it is? Okay, there we go. All right, boom. All right. Let's close this out. Dre, I want to give you the floor because we didn't get to you. Any thoughts on the defense? Your own thoughts on Washington's defense and how they said anything, or did we cover everything before we get to these over-unders / score prediction?
All right. No, I mean, I'll be real quick with my thoughts on the defense. And everything that AJ has said about Cincinnati and that, the offensive line, and even what Jake was talking about, that's what scares me. Because those are every time we think that this is an opening or this is what we can kind of get at the team, this is when they usually kind of get right on us. Especially, I know the concerns was a bit of the Bengals offensive line. I'm still worried or still not quite sure about our defensive line, especially the edge rushers, and even with Deron Payne and John Allen, who's been kind of off this season. I do hope that this is a game where they have their get right game in a sense, Allen and Payne. Maybe they could get off in this game. And if this is the game to do so, this would be it. But I just hope this is not a game where everybody just is clicking and getting right for the Bengals, including Jamar Chase. I mean, that's the guy we just talked about. That's probably the one I'm worried about the most, just because he hasn't been the Jamar Chase that we've grown to know, so maybe this is the game that he comes out. But again, hopefully Ben St. Juice is healthy in this game. The limited thing is worrisome to me because right now he is your best cornerback by a mile. I don't know what the plan is. Well, Mike Davis, if they're going to start him, or if Noah I is going to kind of take that, because I feel like Noah I came in late for Mike Davis in the game. So who knows what the plan is for the cornerback rotation going that way. And again, T. Higgins is coming back. So that's two weapons you got to kind of worry about. Without T. Higgins, you're not too worried about the Bengals wide receiver corps. The tight end corps probably, and as Jake mentioned, they've been playing 12 personnel. Mike Gesicki, he's been having a productive season so far, kind of in the mode of what Zach Ertz has been doing for us. So I'm wondering, maybe you all can shed some light. Maybe do they make Derek Forrest active this week? I don't know, because Jeremy Chin has been kind of struggling. So maybe they try something different with the safeties back there.
I actually don't even think that Chin been struggling as much as people are saying. I think what people are saying is like he missed 2 tackles, and they exacerbated like the severity of whatever struggles he's having. I honestly think, like, first off, it's impossible. Like, if you have a 7 to 10 yard gap in space and you have to tackle a very quick running back in Devil Singletary, and you're coming down from the 3rd level and you got to make a play because the 2nd and 1st level didn't protect you, that's going to be hard to do. And then getting cooked by Daniel Jones, come on. That's embarrassing. But the first one, bro, like that's a hard tackle to make. So I only say that to say that Derek, I don't know what they're going to do, but I just don't. I'm not buying that he's struggling conversation. So whatever they do with Derek Forrest is whatever they do, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. All right, let's close out with the over unders. Let's be quick with these ones. Jaden Daniels over under 200 passing yards. I got over 2.
You said 200?
Yeah, 200.
Yeah, over.
Joe Burrow over under 261 and a half.
Over.
Under.
Over. Let's go to rushing yards. Jaden Daniels 46 and a half.
Over.
Over.
I'll go over. I'll go over. Okay. Joe Burrow, since we're talking about quarterbacks, and Daniel Jones, 10 and a half. Over under.
Under.
10 and a half rushing yards?
Yep, I'm going over.
I say under.
Okay. All right. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, 81 and a half receiving yards.
Over.
Under.
Okay. Terry McLaurin, 48 and a half.
Over.
Under.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm with AJ, bro. I say under. You probably get like 45.
I think this is gonna be his game. They've been talking about him too much. I got the over.
It better be.
Yeah, I'm glad to be wrong, bro. All right, last one. Passing touchdowns. Jaden Daniels is at 0.5.
Over. This will be the first touchdown game.
He'll get one Monday night.
Yeah, they all got like disrespecting him. That's on that minus 270, Dre. Like, why don't you just put it at 1.5?
Adding that to the parlay all day.
Hey, I'm going over too, bro. Joe Burrow is at 1.5. I'm gonna say that's over as well.
I'm gonna say over as well.
Yeah, over.
Okay. All right, let's get into our score predictions and MVP. I'll start off because I had mines in mind for a good little minute. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, C-Man, because I seen your score prediction. I think that the Commanders lose. I don't think that it's going to be relatively close. I say 41-24.
Wow.
The Bengals win. Yeah, I don't see a way in which Washington stops these guys defensively. So 41-24, Cincinnati. Oh, MVP, I'm sorry. Jamar Chase.
I think I didn't really think too much about the score, but I think that it will be 27-20 Commanders. The reason why I say that, I don't believe that you'll see as much man coverage as you did against the Giants last week in Malik Neighbors with whoever's playing opposite of Ben St. Juice. Then you're going to see a bit more zone and zone blitzes. I think that they will be able to attack from the interior and those gaps, those A gaps, to get to the quarterback. I think MVP wise, if I got to pick one off, I'm gonna pick two offensively. Is going to be
You gonna have co-MVPs and I have one name.
I got stuck because I feel like Noah Brown's gonna have a big game. I truly feel like he's gonna have a big game, but at the same token, I expect the running game to be utilized to a key strength. So, matter of fact, I'm gonna just say the wide receivers and the running backs are gonna show up. And then defensively, I think Deron Payne is going to be impactful on Monday night.
Did you give a score, bro?
Yeah, I said 27-20.
Okay.
Yeah. And I pray to be wrong on this, but I do have the Bengals winning 34-27. I do think we cover. Again, 34-27. MVP, I think this is the Jamar Chase game. I think this is the game he's going to show up, especially against our secondary. We haven't looked good this season, and Jamar Chase is a beast. So, yeah, I got us losing 34-27, but I'm praying to be wrong.
All right, there it is. I'll too say it is MVP. Whoever steps up.
Hey, they don't like the Commanders like you guys think. Trap or die.
Hey, this is the first time I think that's the lose all season. The first time I think that's the lose.
Look at AJ, man. He spent 4 years picking the Commanders.
I know. First year.
I can't wait until Monday night. Come on here and they got a W.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Enjoy the game tonight. All you parlayers, all you bettors.
Eat the dub.
Eat the dub, bro. His teammate said he be walking into the huddle like he got a story to tell, bro. That was hilarious. All right,
big dubs Monday.
We'll be back Monday night. We live right after the game, baby. Thugging it out, night crew. But enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy the games. Good luck on your bets. Good luck on your parlays. All that good stuff. We up out of here. Peace.